Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today for our very first Thriving Thursday. We are really excited to be doing a presentation on Know Your Numbers and helping us to really understand the importance of all the numbers that we hear a lot of times from the doctor's office and what their importance is and what do they mean and what can we do to make sure that they are in optimal health. So today I am excited to introduce Pat Salzer. She is with Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield and has been with Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield since 2004. She works as a workplace wellness consultant in the Utica, New York area. She is a native of Utica and received her degree in dietetics management from SUNY Oneonta and then went on to work at St. Luke's Hospital and Heritage Healthcare Center in her roles as a clinical nutrition manager and area support dietitian. Pat was drawn to the world of wellness by her desire to consult with employer groups and to provide workplace wellness opportunities and proactive steps towards improved health. Having been involved in the patient care end of the equation for so long, she finds it rewarding to plug into the system earlier on and help address some of the situations encountered during interactions with patients. Pat currently lives with her husband in Clinton, New York. She is a food and fitness enthusiast and enjoys combining socializing with cooking and physical fitness and also enjoys traveling. She and her husband also often participate in volunteer vacations through Habitat for Humanity and in I just stuttered there. I'm sorry about that. Habitat for Humanity, including Malawi, Africa, and Thailand. They're truly trips of a lifetime, and she is also the president of the Mohawk Regional Dietetic Association, and she enjoys taking improv classes in Utica. I'll tell you, Pat, when I was just reading through that last one, I probably could have used a little improv. We are so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I would like to go ahead and turn the controls over to you.
All right, thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. And I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about Know Your Numbers. Just a little bit more background. Being from the Utica area, and right now I'm in our Utica office, I've been a big fan of the Observer Dispatch, our local newspaper, for years. And I even remember way back when we used to get two newspapers a day when I was a kid. So it's always a nice way to start my day is with my newspaper. We're here today to talk about Know Your Numbers. We'll talk about what your numbers should be, and I want to create some more awareness about high blood pressure, cholesterol, and glucose, which is the blood sugar, and then talk more about the effects of a healthy diet and physical activity on these numbers, and then give you some other useful numbers to know. So with that, I'm going to throw out this question, and it's kind of a rhetorical question, or you can answer it in your head. The first one is, what number should be less than 120 and less than 80? And with that, it's our blood pressure. And for so long, we had said a normal blood pressure was 120 over 80, but now it's really less than that. And we have the healthy blood pressure range, and then there's this at-risk range and a hypertension, high blood pressure range. So these numbers do change as research evolves, and really with this, the numbers are getting stricter. So if somebody has the top number, that systolic number between 120 and 129, and then their diastolic is less than 80, that still is considered at risk. That's not quite healthy blood pressure anymore. And then high blood pressure is 130 or higher and 80 or higher. And even if one of these numbers, not both, is in that higher range, that then determines what category you go into to increase your risk for blood pressure. The thing with blood pressure is there's really no symptoms of high blood pressure. It's not like people are walking around feeling that their blood pressure is elevated. So that's a concern. And we do know that 1 out of 3 adults has high blood pressure. And then it's amazing what our heart can do every day, our heart can pump nearly 2,000 gallons of blood every day, and our heart beats over 100,000 times every day. The thing is, with high blood pressure, you can't just wish it away, that there's some changes that need to be made because of the concern with elevated blood pressure. It puts such a force on your heart to work harder than normal and puts your arteries under greater strain and really affects so many parts of your body from head to toe. It is known as a silent killer because there really are no early significant symptoms, and it can lead to stroke, heart attack, and other problems. So, towards the end of our discussion today, we'll really get into what can you do about some of these things. But now I want to take you to another question. What number should be less than 200? Cholesterol. Cholesterol is a waxy fat-like substance that your body makes. It's made in the liver. And it's also found in certain foods, only foods of animal origin. So therefore, plant-based foods, fruits and vegetables, do not have cholesterol. We need some cholesterol, and our body makes cholesterol. The concern is too much of it causes a buildup in our arteries, as you can kind of see with that diagram, leading to heart disease. 1 out of 3, there's kind of that magic number again. 1 out of 3 adults has a high cholesterol, just like 1 out of 3 has high blood pressure. And we're concerned because cardiovascular disease is the number one cause of death. I talked about how we get some from food, and generally 25% of the cholesterol in our body comes from what we eat. The rest, 75%, is what our body makes, and a lot of that is really genetic. So the risk factors such as our age and our family history affect that part. People are not walking around feeling like they have high cholesterol. There's really no symptoms of that. The cholesterol is only one number, though, and what's really even more important is the breakdown of the good and the bad cholesterol, because cholesterol cannot get around your bloodstream by itself. It needs a carrier, and most of it's either carried by the LDL or the HDL. The LDL is known as the lousy or bad cholesterol, where the HDL, the happy or healthy cholesterol, that's the one, the HDL, that carries your cholesterol through your body and brings it to your liver to be excreted, where the LDL brings it to your arteries to stick. So what's more important than your total cholesterol is really more of your breakdown. There's also triglycerides that are often tested with blood work, and this is another type of fat in the body that's also related to heart disease. So looking at some of those numbers, the total cholesterol, ideally less than 200. The LDL, less than 100. The HDL, more than 40, and even higher than that is better. And the triglycerides, less than 150. We're concerned about this because of the heart attack. And here are some symptoms of a heart attack, but this list is not including everything. The chest pain, the sweating and shortness of breath, the nausea, the vomiting, the pain or pressure, a strange feeling in the arm, the neck, the back, the jaw, some lightheadedness, a fast or uneven heartbeat. Also, symptoms of a stroke, sudden numbness or paralysis, especially on one side of the body, a new problem with walking or balance, a vision change, drooling, slurred speech, new problems speaking or understanding simple statements, a headache that's just very different than past headaches. So the theme here is really something that's new or different is a concern. All right, here's another question. What should be less than 100? And the answer is your glucose level. Your blood sugar should be less than 100 for fasting. So that's when you've gone overnight without eating. You could have had some water, but truly fasting is nothing to eat or drink besides the water. And we're looking for that glucose level to be under 100 because otherwise, if it's over 100 to 125, that's what we consider pre-diabetes. In the diabetes range, the blood sugar would be over 125. These numbers have also changed as time has gone on. So in the past, we used to say a healthy blood sugar was 110, but now it's stricter, so we really want that to be less than 100. I want to explain a little bit about what diabetes is, and it really revolves around the pancreas. This is where our body does not make insulin or does not make enough insulin, or our body can't use its own insulin as it should be. We need insulin. It's a hormone that takes sugar and starches and other foods that we eat and digest and converts it into the energy we need to do what we need to do. If those fasting blood glucose levels are above normal, the 126 or higher, that is considered to be diabetes. And we know one reading alone does not necessarily diagnose that, but that would be the first step, is to find out what your fasting blood sugar is. There are at least a couple types of diabetes, and one is the type 1. And here are some of the symptoms. There's frequent urination, and with that, a lot of thirst and hunger and a weight loss because you're not able to use the food because of the problem with the insulin in your body. And then there's this extreme fatigue and irritability. The type 2 could be any of those symptoms, plus if there are frequent infections and if the vision is blurred, and if there's cuts and bruises that heal slowly, and if there's tingling and numbness in the extremities, and then infections in the skin, the gum, the bladder that keep happening. So with type 1, that is an autoimmune disease, which is a totally different type than the type 2 diabetes. And this is something that once you've got the type 1 diabetes, you're on the insulin for the rest of your life. Where with the type 2 diabetes, there are some changes that you could make to your lifestyle to help reduce your risk of that and help you manage that. So we talked about that fasting blood sugar, and then there's also a test, this hemoglobin A1C, and that really looks more at the average of your blood glucose levels the past 2 or 3 months. So that's just not taking into account what you ate, let's say yesterday, but more the average. And there's certain ranges for what your hemoglobin A1C should be for people that have the prediabetes or if they have diabetes. So there are some things that we cannot really control in our life, and these are some of the risk factors for high blood pressure, the cholesterol, the diabetes that we've been talking about. And one of them is our age, because we get older every year, and our race and our sex and our genes. So some of this is genetic. There is so much that we can control, though, and that's what I really want to focus the rest of this discussion on, because we are ultimately responsible for what we eat and how much we eat. And it's not about being the food police, but being more of a food advocate. And there are so many healthy foods that taste really good. And as a dietitian and food enthusiast, too, this is something that I really promote, because sometimes somebody will say to me, oh, this tastes so good, it can't be good for you. But those two things can happily coexist. So what we eat has a huge effect on this. And also how much we move, how much physical activity that we get. And if you can look at your workout as kind of your time out, and with the endorphins that are made, it is one of the best ways to really feel good is to move your body. All that helps dictate what your weight is, because it's based so much on what we eat and how much movement we get. And our weight is also connected with our sleep too. So sleep is really important, and good sleep hygiene. And then how much alcohol we drink also has an effect, and smoking as well. I do want to go over some other numbers that would be useful to know. Less than 25, that would be your body mass index. So this is where you take a look at your height and your weight, and there are some calculators that you can use online, and this would tell you what category you are in. Are you at a healthy weight? Are you underweight, overweight, obese? So this is just one indicator, and it's not 100% accurate because it does not take into account gender, and it does not take into account body composition. So we do know that muscle weighs more than fat, but it does take up less room. So I do know of some athletes that show up on this scale as overweight or even obese, but there's no way that they are, but it's just that they have a lot of muscle on them. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's one indicator. It's not everything, but it's just part of the whole package. Sometimes I do say though, if you do this and if you don't like the results, just give yourself a taller height and see if you get a better number that way. We know that won't really work, but okay, less than 35 for women, less than 40 for men. What would this be? Our waist circumference. So this I even prefer to that body mass index. And this is really saying, where is your excess body fat? And if a lot of it is around the abdominal area, and if we're kind of shaped like that apple compared to a pear, that does put greater risk for our health and more of a risk for a heart attack and for a stroke. 5 or more. And this will kind of tie in with what I had said too about what shape are you, the apple or the pear. Servings of fruits and vegetables. As a registered dietitian, I love to tell people eat more. And then I have to preface that by saying these foods, the vegetables and the fruits. The benefits of these, they keep you full. They're so high in fiber and they also have a large water content that they tend to be very filling. So you get a lot of volume with this for low calories. You get a lot of fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and these foods help so much to prevent disease. So here are a few ideas. Fruit is really nature's fast food, and it's so easy to grab an apple or a banana or add some fruit to your cereal or your yogurt, whether it's fresh fruit or frozen fruit. Take some raw vegetables and fruit to work as a snack. So when you're looking for something to crunch on, this might be a good alternative. Look for some extra vegetables that you can add to soups or stews. So let's say you're having a beef stew and you've got that beef in it, but you add a lot more of the carrots and the potatoes and the onions and the celery, maybe some parsnips and some other fun vegetables, maybe some spinach in there. Also get creative and look for other ways to add vegetables to the top of your pizza and inside your sandwich. And I know some places, instead of doing the bread, you can get that sandwich wrapped in the lettuce too. Or add more vegetables to your tuna, whether it's the carrots, the celery, the mushrooms, radishes. Another idea is to choose the whole foods and avoid those processed foods. So foods that are closer to their natural state and really have fewer ingredients. This is where our fruits and vegetables come in. They really don't need a label because they are pure whole foods in the most natural form. And then since we're eating a lot more of those vegetables and fruits, that might help us cut back on the meat, the dairy, and the fat. Meat can be a part of a healthy diet, and it does not necessarily have to be part of the diet. It really depends on the portion control, how it's cooked, and what type of meat that it is. Dairy is a good source of calcium, and some of those dairy products are going to have more calories and fat in them. And there are other ways to get calcium besides dairy. So there's those green leafy vegetables that I promote so much anyway, soy and white beans, some fish, and some of the calcium fortified products. When we do have the fat in the diet, and some fat is good and helps also fill us up, some ideas are to really avoid or limit the fast foods, so foods that are fried, and go with lower fat dairy products, leaner cuts of meat and other proteins, and then limit the use of butter, mayonnaise, margarine, and then go for the olive oil instead of the solid fat. 8, the number 8, your water consumption. So to really rethink your drink, water is one of the best beverages to have, and it's free and calorie free as well. There are some benefits to coffee in moderation. Tea is another good way to get some fluids in, and it's best to really have those without the sugar because those are a lot of extra calories. And then milk in moderation, juice, although I really promote fresh fruit. If you eat fresh fruit and let your body turn it into juice. And then if you do have alcohol in moderation is really the best guideline for that. And then to avoid the soda, and for some of those sports drinks, they're not always necessary for us unless you're a big time athlete. And the sweetened beverages do have a lot of calories in them. No more than one for women and two for men. And I alluded to this a little bit, and it would be alcohol. So there may be some health benefits to alcohol. So if you do, the key is moderation. And then I'll define what a serving is considered. It's 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of hard liquor. For a man, that would be no more than 2 drinks per day, and for women, no more than 1 drink per day. More than 30, this would be physical activity, at least 30 minutes most days of the week to get some type of movement in. Some of us spend a lot of time sitting or driving. So anything you can do to get some more physical activity in, and whether it's some movement throughout the day, so you're going to get another glass of water, or you're using a further restroom, or you go for a walking meeting at work, and then some planned exercise as well. Whatever works for you. So some people have the treadmill at home. Some people have that treadmill be their clothes rack. Some people belong to a gym, but not necessarily go to it, but they make that monthly donation. Some people prefer a group fitness class where it's social too and they'll meet their friends there. Some people prefer the outdoors. Whatever it is for you that works for you. And often with our physical activity, it's something that we never regret that we've done. You may regret that you have not done it, but you really won't regret that you did do it. Some more ways to move more, to get in at least those 30 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days per week. And think of it as something very positive, not something that you have to do, but something that helps you feel the best you that you can be. Along with that, it reduces our risk of the chronic diseases, including the ones that we've been talking about. Helps with our blood pressure, our cholesterol, our sugar. It helps so much with our mood, with depression, with anxiety. It helps us concentrate. It's so good for our bones. It is a way to help lose weight and maintain a healthy weight. And it is such a way to get more energy. So I know myself, I don't go because I have energy, but I get energy when I'm active. Here are some additional resources for you. And then if there are any questions, I welcome
So
them.
that, yes, so that was something that I forgot to say at the beginning, Pat. I apologize to everybody online. If you have a question, on the right hand of your screen, you should see an area where you can type in a question. And Pat would love to hear from you if you have any questions regarding some of the know your numbers information or where you can find more information. I liked the comment that you made about, not being the food police as much as being food advocates. I thought that was a nice way of sharing that because I think a lot of times we always feel like, no, 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 you can't, it's bad, right? And then it's nice to know really the reality is, you want to strive for moderation. Um, we do actually have a question. This is what is the normal amount of calories to shoot for per day?
Okay, this how many calories should we aim for a day? It's really based on if you're male or female. There's different equations for it. Your height, your weight, your age, because every year we get older, our metabolism does slow down a little bit. So there is a this equation that you can use. A rough guideline is if you want to lose weight, that means you've got to cut back on the calories that you're consuming right now. If you are at a good weight, then really the number of calories that you are taking in is working for you. So I know we love kind of we've been talking a lot about numbers, but in a way with this, if you eat till you are satisfied. We don't have to eat till we're full every time. Often we eat till we're Thanksgiving full. But if you can eat till you're no longer hungry, and if you're eating mindfully and with intention and getting in the nutrition that you need, your your weight will tend to take care of itself, along with getting the physical activity that you need. But it really comes down to, do you want to lose weight? Then you need to cut back on some of those excess calories.
What about when people, you were talking about, trying to get in more fruits and vegetables, and there are some diets and information out there that seems to discourage people from eating fruits and some vegetables. What are your thoughts on that?
Vegetables are really preferred. They're so low in calories, so high in flavor. Some fruit in moderation is also part of a healthy diet. I get more concerned with the juice if some people use that as a way to quench their thirst. And then for some people with certain conditions, let's say with diabetes, that fruit can't be a free for all. You still have to watch how much of that you eat, and also those starchy vegetables. But I know they often get a bad rap, which they really do not deserve.
All right, fair enough. And then we have another question that says, does your blood pressure go up the older you get? Mine seems to be different for each arm. Is that normal?
Yes, okay, so your blood pressure does vary, and it could even vary from one reading to a few minutes later. And then, yes, age does play a role in that. And same with our arms too. That's why we look more at that trend and not just a one-time number. And there's often that white coat syndrome. So if we're rushing into the doctor's office and we were trying to find a parking place and we might be kind of nervous, that initial blood pressure may be high anyway. But then if you can just sit, relax, take some breaths, that will help get it to a better number.
Wonderful. Well, at this point, I don't see any other questions. What I would like to say thank you so much, Pat, for joining us. This was great. I know this is a subject that we could probably spend a lot of time on, understanding, really the numbers, and I appreciate the amount of information you were able to provide to us during our lunch break. Um, and so thank you. And then I would like to just encourage everybody to please join us next month on March 28th. We're going to be talking about a benefit that Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield offers to its members called Blue 365 that helps people get discounts on various health and wellness um, objects or activities, or even some procedures. So join us for that next month. And again, thank you everybody for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye bye.